Gamertag Radio is on Play.it.
You can now watch Gamertag Radio live on Twitch.
Get all the latest news and coverage related to the gaming industry.
Join hosts Danny Pena, Paris Lilly, and Peter Toledo.
Don't miss the crew record the podcast live Sundays, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or Wednesdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get involved with the conversation, send us questions, and be part of the show.
Gamertag Radio.
Follow us, twitch.tv/Gamertag Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. Podcasting since 2005. You're listening to Gamertag Radio. With your host, podcaster Hall of Famer Danny Pena, the always opinionated Paris Lilly, and from outside of the norm, Peter Toledo. This is Gamertag Radio.
Here we go.
Hey, welcome to Gamertag Radio episode 699. And it's very quiet over here right now, right? Well, this is Danny, and I'm live here in Miami, Florida. And the past few hours, we had the hurricane over here. I mean, it's still here. It's not crazy like this morning and last night. And Pete right now is in West Palm Beach. Last time I spoke to him, everything was good. Everything was good over on his side. And right now I'm recording because everybody's sleeping over here. You know, my niece is taking a little nap. My fiance and everybody just relaxing. We're playing board games and everything because the power went out over here. So once in a while you hear like a very loud wind just passing through. Boom. But things has been really, really calm now for like the past 2-3 hours. Has been really, really calm. So the bad part of the hurricane just passed right now. So thank God. Because let me tell you, last night, this morning was one of the worst moments here with this humongous, pretty big hurricane. I think the size of Texas. That's what I read online and also on TV. I've been hearing that. So, everybody affected in this hurricane, man, I'm with you. This has been a very horrible experience over here. We didn't get the eye here where we live. It stayed, I think it only passed by through the Keys, and now it's going to, looks like the last time I got to see it said it was going to Naples, Fort Myers, the Tampa area. I have family over there in Tampa, so. But yeah, I'm not going to record a full episode. I just want to do like a little quick intro and a quick outro because, it just been kind of crazy over here in Miami, and, I recorded a couple things ahead of time for you guys. So one audio that we have was recorded during the visit that Paris had over there at Bungie Studios in Seattle. And it's like a roundtable discussion about the soundtrack and the music of Destiny 2. That's what we recorded a couple weeks ago. We're going to play that here. It's unreleased. And also, I just got back from San Francisco. I was over there because Ubisoft invited me to check out their game that's coming in a couple of weeks, actually, in October, next month, is the new South Park game that it's coming out for the Xbox One and also PlayStation 4. So we're going to put that during this show. So everybody, I just want to say very quick, thanks for all the messages, all the emails, messages through Discord, text, Twitter, Facebook, through social media. Thank you to everybody that been hitting me up, and also Pete, to see how we're doing everything. It means a lot. It was, right now the power just went out a couple hours ago. So, this is like a way for me to release the stress, just on a mic or play my Nintendo Switch. So that's why I decided to record this very quick. But like I was saying, I just want to say thanks to everybody, man. You guys, I felt like you guys were there with me. We were talking the whole time. I even tried to stream a little bit on Twitch because, we had power, we have internet. Just to talk to the community because everybody was asking me, hey, everything is good, But so far, thank God, everything has been great. The only negative thing is no power over here. I have to hit up my dad because the last time I spoke to him, the trees that he had in the backyard it went down. I believe my uncle, his fence went down too, and my cousin's house. Her name is Elisa. Her husband He had his his car parked right in front of the house. And last thing I heard from her was the fence and also a tree landed on top of his car. So I don't know the full details what happened, but that's what they told me. So yeah, guys, let me tell you, being through a hurricane, this was nothing because Hurricane Andrew was pretty bad. Only difference is that this was outside of South Florida. The only hit was when they went to the Keys. But it is really scary. Really, really scary. If it was getting near over here, forget it, man. Like, oh my God, strong winds. But right now it's super calm. You get winds here and there, but it was not like earlier this morning. My God, this morning was pretty bad. Pretty bad. So, yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up here, and I'm going to do a quick outro. But we're going to play the audio. First, we're going to play the Bungie interview, the roundtable discussion. And then after that, my interview that I recorded during my visit to the South Park event that happened over there in San Francisco. So we'll be right back after this.
Send us your feedback or questions. Give us a call at 786-273-7GTR. Email us at fanmail@gamertagradio.com or leave a message on speakpipe.com/gamertagradio.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Schroeder, the game director for South Park The Fractured But Whole from Ubisoft San Francisco.
All right, for those that played the first game, the combat system is totally different than the last one. Why the change?
So early on in the concept of this game, when we were meeting with Matt and Trey, everyone agreed that we should stick with the turn-based combat. It was really good for pacing. It was really good for the jokes. It allowed a level of casualness for just show fans to be able to kind of get into the game. But they liked the idea of being able to fight in the same place that you were exploring. And when we started to prototype that, it became, well, now it's weird that I can't move because I was moving in this room a second ago and now I can't move. And so we added movement. And once you're moving in a turn-based combat system, you're making a tactics game. So, but we didn't want to go, isometric view cameras and all this sort of stuff in order to do hardcore tactics, and so we kept it pretty simple. And I think what we ended up with is this really cool blend of board game style, chess pieces sort of laid out without having too much time sort of worrying about exact position and enemy ranges and things like that, because we wanted people to still feel powerful. And the superheroes are best when they just clash in the middle of a battlefield.
Speaking of superheroes, I just finished one of the missions, and they asked me about my weakness, kryptonite. I noticed there was a different option. It was old people, vampires, and so on. Now, there was also sixth graders. So how that affect the character once you choose one of those?
So when you choose a kryptonite, you're going to have a slight numeric disadvantage against them. It's just a matter of, you need to have something on your character sheet. All the kids are putting together their own character sheets for their own superhero classes, and for them it seems unfair if you don't have to choose some weakness. And so the character you were playing with was Mosquito, and that's Clyde, and he just has a weakness for Raisins Girls. He can't resist them, and so he wanted to. He thinks it's unfair if you don't have something, so you have to choose.
So the story, probably a lot of people are wondering how this relates to the last game, or is this totally new?
So the Stick of Truth ended with you being King Douchebag, and then the Fractured But Whole starts just a few days later. In fact, the kids are playing Stick of Truth at the beginning of the game, and then they quickly switch games and are no longer playing swords and sorcery. And now that they're playing superheroes, they don't care about you. Even though you were king in the last game, in kid logic, that means nothing. We all have our own new character sheets. You don't even have a character. You don't even have a costume. You need to start from the ground up. So that makes it really convenient for a video game. So now you start right at level 1, and the kids kind of show you the ropes of the new game they're playing and the new rules.
And how the story came about? Was it you guys came up with that and mentioned to the writers, or how that came about?
So the story is straight from Trey Parker. he knew early on that, okay, so if I was going to do another game, I think it'd have to be about superheroes. I think that, like, in his mind, that like it was perfect for satirizing at that time and still is. And then, they have these characters from the show, Mysterion and the Coon and Human Kite and Toolshed are all things that were established in a few episodes. But the cool thing about a South Park game is that it's not, just retreading the same show content. You're not just like interacting with a show you've already seen. It's all totally new story. It's all totally new content. So I think people really loved those superhero personas that the kids had adopted. And this was an opportunity to sort of have them clash with the reality of the way Marvel and DC Comics, are reinventing kind of what it means to be a superhero in this day and age, which means huge franchise plans, long-term marketing and merchandising deals. And so, like, through the South Park kids' lens, that's what they think it means to be a superhero.
Now, each character, of course, they have superpowers and everything like that. How the ultimate power-ups, how that came about too, because each one of them have like a different one too, right?
Yeah, so the ultimates, each character gets their own ultimate, and for the new kid, he or she actually gets to choose between 10 different superhero classes as the game keeps going on, and each of those classes has its own ultimate as well. So depending on who you bring into your party and what ultimate you have equipped, usually about once or twice a battle, and maybe more if you're like playing on master mode or during a boss fight or something like that, you keep filling up this ultimate meter with all of the damage you're giving and receiving. It just keeps building, and once it's full, you can unleash that ultimate from one character on the enemies. So it kind of works like Summons did in the last game, where you have different things that have different ultimates have different areas of effect or coverage or things that they're going to do. Some of them actually help your team recover or shield and stuff like that. Some of them are meant for just laying waste to half the battle.
Yeah, like the last game, I felt like we were having this conversation before recording. Like, I felt like it came out like on the wrong time. Brand new systems was coming out. Probably a lot of people just forgot about it. They moved on. But they wanted to play that on the current system. So you guys are planning to do anything that maybe if they want to know a little bit about the story of the last game before they're playing this one?
Yeah, so the Stick of Truth came out in March 2014, like right as the console generation was sort of switching. And when we were realizing we were close to launching this one, we ported the Stick of Truth to PS4 and Xbox One, and now actually people can play it for free if they pre-order The Fractured But Whole. So it's definitely not required playing, but if you want to get a sense of who these kids are and how they play games and what the town of South Park is like, I think that it's a cool introduction into modern South Park gaming. And then The Fractured But Whole will throw out all those rules, and you'll have to start back at level 1.
How's it been like just working on this behind the scenes with you and your team?
So for the team at Ubisoft San Francisco, like, we've had a tremendous opportunity to work with South Park Studios. Like, they're sort of famous for being able to take a show from the first draft of the script to being on air at Comedy Central in 6 days, which is, to do that is they have really crazy development practices that really have created, this machine that produces wonderful comedy. That craftsmanship isn't something that game development necessarily just does, right? Like, crafting comedy is a different kind of art. So for us, it's been really cool to be modest and go in and learn a respect for their craft. And at the same time, like, having the opportunity to show people like that we also know what we're doing, and being able to, earn their respect and saying, like, this is going to be fun for the player. This is going to be good for the game, and earning that trust.
And how important was it to, people are impatient sometimes. They're like, oh my God, delayed. But as a developer, why it was so important for you guys to make those choices, make those moves?
I mean, yeah, you have to make tough choices just in terms of what's going to go into a game and when it's going to come out. But I think that for us, we wanted to make a game that South Park Studios was going to be proud of. We wanted to make a game that Ubisoft was going to be proud of, and we wanted to make a game that was going to make everybody happy. And ultimately, that was just, it was an easy answer of we just need more time. And yeah, we just made that call, and like that's what gave us the time we needed. And thank goodness Ubisoft is patient.
Thanks a lot. And once again, you want to mention the release date and everything, and any consoles?
South Park: The Fractured But Whole comes out on October 17th for PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
All right, but thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it. Back on the scene. This is Gamertag Radio. Voicemail at 786-2737-GTR.
And you should. I mean, it's a tough one because you want the music to sound great on big speakers, but at the same time, some people are going to play on their iPhone headphones like I do.
Or like the Astros or Tony Aces. That's how I used to.
I have a pair of those, and I played on a bunch of different things. And so, one thing that like I know coming out of my previous world before I got into games was that, you know, when you're making a record or when you're making music, it has to do that because you never know if someone's going to listen to the radio or an MP3 or so. As far as music specifically, that's kind of always part of the production process, but as far as the whole game and the full game mix, that also has to be because you don't know what people are going to be listening on, and not only just speakers or headphones, but also are they going to be listening in 5.1 or are they going to be listening in stereo, and so we have to be checking that and monitoring it, and especially when you're folding down 5.1 to stereo or even to mono, you got to make sure there's not like some wonky phasing issue that's going to be like, hey, where'd that sound go? It's just gone, which can happen. So yes, we have to be aware of that.
What about like the differences between PvE and PvP when it comes to like, you know, a gun like mine, a multi-tool is going to sound the same in PvE and PvP, but directionally, do you make any changes specifically for PvP or like where footsteps are coming from, things like that?
I think that I can give you a partial answer on that. David Henry, who's done most of the mixing, would probably be the right guy to give you the real answer. But I can say yes, there are certain changes between the mixes of PvE versus PvP that are designed to help you know where your enemy might be coming from and certain things like that. Like, you know, in the game, those things, or in the PvE part of the game, those things aren't necessarily as important as PvP. Exactly. So some of those things do get balanced differently.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm glad for it too, because sometimes I need it.
No, yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah.
How long have you been at Bungie?
A little under 3 years, but I've worked with Bungie before I actually worked at Bungie for a while.
Okay. So what was your first project then?
I played drums on, I think it was Reach or ODST. Well, Reach and ODST.
Okay.
And then I wrote some of the music for Destiny 1.
Okay,
and,
cool.
Yeah. And then joined Bungie right before House of Wolves. So House of Wolves was the first thing I worked on as an employee at the studio, I guess. Yeah.
So I have to ask you this then, since you came in on House of Wolves, who did the music for Skolas? Because that music plays in my nightmares.
Well, I mean, pretty much everything's a team effort. We have, we have the guys who are involved, and the cool thing about that is if one guy comes up with a theme, it might be a cool theme, but you play it for the other guys, and the other guys are like, oh, that's awesome, but let's try this, and you change one little thing, and then it becomes better. And so that was one of those. It was like one of us came up with an idea, played it for the other guys. One guy changed the duration of a note, and the other guy said, hey, there's 4 pieces here. What if we cut one of them off and make it 3? And I was like, oh, that's genius. Yeah. And that's just one of those natural evolutions. So
that's awesome.
That's the awesome part about having a team.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing things by yourself, you are limited by your own ability to perceive those things, and space is really the only thing that really helps in that case. So if you have like a week of, I didn't listen to this cue for a week and I come back to it, you're going to notice more. But if you can immediately go and get someone else's ears on it, that definitely helps a lot.
Now I know, like you're saying, it's a team effort and everything, but what goes into that process? Because music music and audio can be a cue to what's coming next while you're playing. So again, I'll bring up like Wrath of the Machine. You're doing that raid, and you got that epic ramp up. You're going through stuff, so it's like oh shit, it's about to go down. So with that process, that's a conscious thing that you guys are trying to do, so that as the player, like I said, you're getting that cue to know that things are about to ramp up, something big's about to happen.
Yeah, and that's also part of the art of implementing the music. Is you might have a piece of music that does that, and we want a certain thing to fall at a certain place. Yeah. But the limitations of how that's going to work for every single player in every single situation are something we have to overcome with technology. Because unlike a movie or a TV show where it's linear and you can sync this thing to this moment, it's always that way. In a game, you might come from this part of the queue into this part on a transition, or a different part next time. And so finding a way to make it as close to a controlled, exactly the same kind of transition as you want every time is one of our biggest challenges, but it's also one of the biggest things, one of my favorite parts about it, I guess. So, but yeah, we certainly think about that, and that's, as we write the music, we're thinking about how it's going to be put in the game so that we can make those two things work together. Yeah.
Outside of kind of the main story cues and combat cues, it feels like there's a lot of other kind of dynamic music cues that are maybe on a smaller scale happening throughout the world. If I'm near certain items or chests or things like that.
Something like that.
Can you guys talk about your kind of approach to that and how active that is?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely music in the open world that supports that experience, and for the most part, it's going to start off feeling like, in a way, like D1. You have what we call ambient music. That's I'm in the environment, I'm exploring whatever I'm doing, like go for a patrol or whatever, and that, you have kind of background music that plays and that whole thing. And then when you go and do an adventure or you do other of the new activities, the music is going to score that, and that part of it is new, and there's quite a lot of music that supports that, and it's also destination specific, so each destination has somewhat of a palette that's unique to that destination, and that also we tie in within that into the story arc stuff. So it's a pretty fun thing, but it also took a lot of work to build it.
I can imagine. So do you approach it from a perspective of like, if I'm running around this building and there's some chests hidden there that you kind of want there to be an audio cue that tries to attract me to try and search for that, or is that
not specifically with chess? It's more activity based.
More activity. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys work with the voice actors at all?
Yeah, we do. A lot of them are in LA, and the actors who are down there will get recorded there, and a lot of them are not in LA, and some of them are up here. And when they're up here, we usually record them in house. And so I've done some of the sessions more on Taken King and House of Wolves, but we do record a bunch of that stuff in house and a bunch of it out of house. It's all fun. Yeah. There's some really, really talented voice actors, as you know, in the game. So
I was meaning to ask in terms of, I don't know if I didn't notice it in D1 or if it was always there. To what degree do these characters have like their own, themes musically?
That's a good question.
How has it, I guess, taken up a notch?
So one of the big challenges, because there's so many characters, doing the full-on Peter and the Wolf thing, where every person or every character has their own theme, gets a little tricky. But there are times where a character may have an association with a place or with another main point in the story that warrants, okay, this is a thing, and it now is, every time that thing happens, it's now the theme for that thing. We say thing a lot. So there are definitely moments where that thematic association happens, and we almost always are going to support main story points with thematic stuff. There are definitely Peter and the Wolf moments where each character is going to have a theme, but it generally is more specific to what the Guardian is facing rather than all the different Guardians. And then there's obviously the destination-specific stuff, and that's more of a change in palette than a musical theme or a motif, so to speak. So,
again, in regards to, I guess, themes, not necessarily musical themes, but the sort of the motif of a world without light. What does, like, for instance, the first two missions of the game, you are, down but not out, but things are looking gloomy. And for the most part in D1, it was always, you were conquering something, or you were triumphing over something. How did it feel to finally sort of really hark on the minor or dissident, or I guess even like dreamlike qualities with the sort of vision that happens early on in the game? What was it like being able to shift tones finally musically, I guess?
Well, I really like that. I mean, I like that we can do that with our game. Our game allows us to say a lot of different things with music rather than just one tone or one kind of feel, and that's actually one of my favorite parts, because I like a little bit of diversity and a little bit of variation, but that's actually one of the central components of the story that I think really informed the music, which was, you start off with this massive loss and then you overcome it and you build back up, and so having the opportunity to let the score reflect that was actually pretty cool.
Have you noticed the process of how you work change at all since you were working on D1 to this?
Oh yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of different things that might change process, but I'm one of those kinds of guys who, if I see somebody else doing something different than I do it, and I'm like, that's a smarter way to work, then I start doing that, like most people, but I like to figure out ways to improve workflow all the time, especially given that what we're trying to accomplish is pretty aggressive and pretty big in a small amount of time relatively. So finding ways to improve workflow is huge, but also just process of writing, like some of that stuff, when it comes to creative stuff, you just have to go with it. Like, there is no one way to do it. Sometimes you come up with a melody and the cue is fully formed in your head before you even sit down and produce it. And other times you sit down and you don't know what you're going to write, and it just kind of happens. And so on that side of the fence, yeah, it is what it is.
How late in the process are you guys still working on just the music and the audio and everything before you're like, all right, we're done, here you go, this is the final thing?
Pretty late, but audio is one of the last things in the chain. We are mixing really near the end of the tail. And as that happens, a lot of times we'll discover things that we want to change or maybe do a different thing with, and that definitely happens too. So
I don't know if this had been mentioned before I arrived, but were there changes, I guess, in sound design to like weapons? Because they sound amazing. Not that they weren't amazing in the first Destiny, but this time I'm encouraged to equip like every rare quality or even green quality item gun I pick up just to hear what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Was there like a leap technologically that allowed you to get higher fidelity with those?
I just say there were a lot of talented people that did a lot of cool work on them. That's actually one of my favorite parts too. There's a lot of really cool sounding stuff in there. Yeah. But technology leap, no, just cool stuff.
A final one for me, because I'm always curious about this. So again, we're Destiny. It's a sci-fi fantasy game, so it's not like Call of Duty where you're dealing with real-world weapons, so you go out and get those real-world sounds. So how does that process work when you're just creating a brand new gun and you're like, I want it to sound like that?
Yeah.
I mean, how does all that happen?
Well, I'm not as involved in that. I don't directly design the gun sounds, but I do know that some of them start with actual source recorded, and we've done recording sessions out in the desert with just whatever, you name a gun, it was probably there kind of thing. But then there's all kinds of sound design that happens if that started being part of the source, and sometimes swing of scissors might be the source, and sound design is the cool thing about it is just whatever the source is, what you end up with is more about what you want it to sound like than, especially in a game like ours that's sci-fi and fantasy, like there's no limitation of this has to sound like that gun because people know what that gun sounds like.
Right.
So for us, it's I think more about that creative process rather than let's get a really high fidelity recording of a specific thing, which is actually really cool because it opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, there is some of that, recording the high fidelity source in the process, and then there's some of the back part of it is a really big part of it.
Yeah.
How many sounds did you have to go back and revise? Because I noticed something, for instance, like at least with Hunter, like the jump noises are different. Like, what was the thought process behind? Oh, let's make the Hunter's triple jump sound different than it did in the first game. Like,
yeah, I mean, I can't tell you exactly what percentage is new, but I can say that almost everything is new. I mean, it's a new game, so we wanted it to feel similar. We wanted it to feel like Destiny, but there's not a ton of actual Destiny 1 sounds in the game. I mean, like I said, I can't tell you the exact percentage, but it's almost all new is what I would guess from what I've seen.
awesome. It's really cool.
Was there any revisiting of like some of the old themes from Destiny 1, like at least remixed or just rearranged or just revisited? Like it sounds different, but it has like little hints of it, from previous themes.
Yeah. There's a few of those. I don't want to spoil them, but from what you've probably played already, you may have run into one or two of them. But there's a handful. I mean, the music is mostly new. It's mostly new themes, but there are definitely a few. Yeah.
What kind of music do people listen to at the farm?
What kind of music did people listen to at the farm?
Yeah, like the Guardians, like in the world. What kind of
bluegrass?
Oh, I see. Definitely banjo, solo banjo.
Solo banjo?
And spoons.
Really?
No, I mean, that's a really tough one because that's like a hypothetical that we haven't delved into, but that could be really fun.
There's no diegetic music?
No, there is not. It's all score. We thought about doing that, but we actually, I probably shouldn't go down that road, but we did think about doing that. Yeah. And it would have been fun in some ways.
Just play it.
I like that you use that word though. Most people don't say diegetic, they say source music.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, you may have worked with animals to record some of the sounds from D1, but now with the farm, there's farm animals. Was that I guess fun? Or,
I wasn't directly involved with that, but I do know that like the birds and a lot of the sounds in there just make me want to stay there. I mean, it's that's a pretty cool sounding place. Let's go hang out there. No, I know a lot of people put a lot of effort into making that sound really good and unique. Yeah. And I know, excuse me. A lot of the guys on our team, sound designers, will actually go out on their own time and just record stuff. Take their recorder out, and I'm going hiking, so hey, those are some cool birds. Let's get a recording of that. And then a lot of that stuff ends up in the game. So most of what we do is all stuff that we either grab or one of the guys makes. So.
Did you guys do any remixing with the Ghost?
I can't say that I can answer that accurately, but I would imagine it is different. Okay. It's probably a very similar process, but I'm sure there are tweaks to it.
Yeah, I meant to ask, in the beginning again, when Nolan North is or when your ghost is disconnected from the light, how much of that is filters on his voice, and how much of that is voice acting?
I know there's definitely voice acting in the mix, but there could be some processing. I can't give you an accurate answer on that, though.
Okay.
One last question, guys. Yeah. Did you guys ever think about maybe, in some of the more humorous moments of the story or any of the adventures, stuff doing music that was a little bit much more lighthearted, but almost silly? So it's it's comedic, nothing that distances itself too much from most of the soundtrack, but something that is just it's a radically different, but it still fits.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say yes. You'll run into a few bits of that. Yeah, we stay more on the side of this is the meat and potatoes of what the music is trying to do, but there are certainly moments where we go there. Short ones. there.
We're gonna move you guys on. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry. I was late. Could you just spell out your name and title? Or
Sure.
just your name.
Skye, Skye, Lewin, Lewin.
And your title.
Music director and composer.
Thank you.
For those of you guys.
Back on the scene. This is Gamertag Radio. Voicemail at 786-2737-GTR.
All right, we're back here, guys. Still no power. Like I said, this is like a way for me to, I've been stressed all day, so this is something that helps me out a little bit, And also when I play with my Nintendo Switch, and playing a lot of board games with the family and everything, that was pretty cool. We've done that, and I've been checking my phone right here. I don't have my text is not working, data is not working, nothing. So I'm in my room right now. It's pretty dark. So I have the flashlight from my phone right now. And that's the only way I could, see what was going on with the recording and everything. So I'm probably gonna right now stop the recording of this and probably just play some Nintendo Switch for a couple of hours there, see what happens. But like I said, we're going to have a brand new episode on Thursday, which is our 700 episode. I got something recorded that you guys are going to like, and that's coming out this Thursday. So like I said, everybody, thank you. And shout out to CBS, the whole Play.it team that been hitting me up, and also Pete, the industry, and also the community, friends that we know, community managers from different companies. Thank you so much. It means a lot. It means a lot to see the support from everybody, just checking to see if we were okay and everything. So that was really, really cool. So like I said, until next time, we're going to be back this Thursday. I'm going to have some stuff recorded, and I'm going out of town this week. I'll give you more details about that, but it's a really, really cool trip, and that's coming. Details coming very, very soon. Can't say it right now, but stay tuned. All right. Take care, guys. Until next time. Thank you for listening to episode 699. This is Danny, Gamertag Radio. I'm out.
Thanks for listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.